All right, good to go.
Okay, thanks, Shane. So, being 6:30 on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, I'll go to the item one. I'll call the Bridgewater Planning Board to order. I'm just going to read in, this meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the provisions of the open meeting law. Recently, the governor passed an extension of hybrid and remote meeting provisions. It was signed into law by the governor. The provision now allows these remote meetings through June 30th, 2027, and allows for public bodies and town meetings to continue offering remote and hybrid access to public meetings. The following members of the Bridgewater Planning Board are participating remotely this evening. I'm Patrick Driscoll, the chair, Mr. Edward Haley, Mr. Michael McDonald, the vice chair, Mr. Stephen Geller, and we'd like to welcome back a longtime planning board member, Mr. Thomas Pratty. We have an alternate member this evening, who's Ms. MJ Spagone. During this meeting, all votes will be roll call votes, and the Bridgewater following Bridgewater town staff will also participate remotely. Mr. Robert Rulli, the Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Shane O'Brien, the town planner, Mr. Greg Tanzi, the town engineer, Mr. Stephen Solari, the building commissioner. At this point, everyone's mics are muted. The board's mics will be unmuted through the whole meeting, and as items appear on the agenda, the project's representatives' mics will be unmuted. If this project is a public hearing and allows for public comment, we ask that you use the chat feature to ask a question by listing your name, your address, and your question. The chair or the host, who's Mr. O'Brien this evening, will recognize questions in order. You can also use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu, and you'll be unmuted when the chair or the host recognizes you. Again, please state your name and your address before asking any questions. If you're on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. So going into item 2, this evening we have an A&R plan. This is for 884 South Street, Jennifer Circle. This is map 75, lots 1, 41, and 81. I did look at what Shane sent out. We did receive an application. We did receive the fee, Shane, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And Shane provided a memo that we have seen this before, and it looks like they're just reconfiguring some stuff before they go forward with the other A&R, but I'll turn it over to the applicant for their presentation, if they're with us.
Yep. Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yep. Just go ahead.
All right. For the record, my name is Lucas Klim from Klim Land Surveying. I think I can share my screen here. The plan before you is just came from during the closing process. The attorneys wanted something to record prior to recording the other plan that shows the land swap. So realistically, what we're doing is we're just going to create this parcel A and the parcel B shown on this plan. That way they can create a title for each one, swap those, and then we will subsequently record the previous A&R that the board reviewed and already approved like a month ago. So that's all. It's more just a process thing with the attorneys. Can answer any questions.
So are there any board questions for Mr. Klum? Any board comments? We did receive the staff memo from Mr. O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien, do you want to comment on it?
No, I guess it was surprising to see this after the previous A&R, but once Luke kind of explained it right there and before, it makes sense. Doesn't really affect anything from the previous A&R, so I'm okay with this.
Okay, and both of those parcels are listed as not buildable lots. So, all right. If there are any other staff or board comments or questions? If not, do we have a motion to endorse?
So moved.
Second.
Hold on, I lost my list. All right, so motion by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Haley. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'll take the roll. Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Pratty,
Yes, I was told that I might not be able to
Yeah,
No,
well, this is
no.
this is new business, so I think the only thing that you haven't sat in enough meetings on this evening would be
It would be
43.
43R as well as Mansion Way.
Mansion Way as well? Okay,
Yes.
then yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
I'm a yes. All right, thank you, Mr. Klein.
Thank you for your time.
Pat, if you'd like, I could let everyone know who's sitting on what meeting is what, especially for 43R, if that works out for you.
Yeah, I mean, before you hopped on, Bob gave me, I think, the update, but sure, let me open the meeting up and then you can announce who's gonna.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody can participate. It's just who actually votes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
If we get to that point. Okay, so item 3, we'll go to our site plan reviews on the agenda. This is a public hearing. We have a continued public hearing for 43 Rear Central Square. This is map 34, lot 66. This is site plan review, section 10.6, and there are special permits 6.14 and 9.6 to convert an existing manufacturing building into a mixed-use building with 6 units. This is continued from April 16th. And I'll open that hearing and I'll turn it over to the applicant if they'd like to provide any more information and updated site plans.
I'm Larry Silva from Silver Engineering. I'm also on here with Matt Holmes, the architect on the project. And as far as any kind of sharing of anything, Matt, I'm going to have to rely on you for that right now. If are you there?
Yep, I'm
Oh.
here, Larry. I can share my
Oh.
screen. You want to see, obviously, I would assume the site plans.
Yeah. So basically, just to recap where we left off last time.
Yep.
It was a lot of discussion about the 3-level building and then the change to the 2-story building, and we made the changes to the site plan to be consistent with that change to the 2-story. In addition to that, on the site plan, there was an area that was asked to be curbed in the front. We made that change, and then we clarified the type of curbing to be an either or vertical granite or vertical concrete curbing, so that there would be clarity on that issue. We made sure our site plan was consistent with Matt's.
Can you, excuse me, not to interrupt, but could you blow that up a little bit so people can maybe see it a little bit better if possible?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what you guys are actually seeing here. Hold on. It shows full screen with me. So
I can probably change my.
here. That probably doesn't help at all zooming out, right? I'm having a hard time seeing what you guys are seeing.
If you can zoom in maybe once more.
Sure. Well, let me see. Does that help at all, or? No? My screen, I see it full. Bear with me. Let me stop sharing and reopen again.
Well, yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh, it was? Oh.
What's that?
Is that all right there, or?
Yeah, what does the board think? I can see it a little bit better if that.
A little better.
That's strange, because I see it as a full screen.
That's all right. Yeah, go ahead. If the people have questions, we can, but go ahead.
If you need me to zoom in on something or something, I can do that too. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, Larry.
Oh, so this is so you had a specific question, Pat, or?
No, I think go ahead.
I think you provided some updates from the last plan. So if you could, I think you provided the curbing. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the front there, next to space number 7, that area it was asked that we curb that area, so we added that to the curbing. in that front area there. So that has the vertical curbing there. And and as you can see, the note says vertical curbing, and then there's another definition of that in the legend that says that's either vertical granite or vertical concrete. The client asked that we be flexible about that because which one that he may have more access to in order to be able to utilize there. There was, we made adjustments. There is one little typo that I saw in the parking data, where it said the visitors 1 per 3. It did said 5 units under it. It should have said 4. Halfway down through that parking there, that see below the one that says visitor space.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one should say 4 right there. I apologize for that. We'll make sure on the final one that it says that. But in essence, what's happened here is that we're providing for the parking for the 4 residential units, and then we have the accessible space in the front also available. So there's 6 required for the 4 residential. But what I submitted a request or an explanation about the no loss of parking provision in the bylaw. So asking for the special permit to basically show that what's being proposed is not a loss in parking. But there's attempts to try to get off-street parking to support a commercial use here. Our client has indicated that he was unsuccessful in doing that. And as such, we've gone down to, like I say, to the 2-story. And we're indicating that in that summary that I said that even though there are 4 residential units and there has to be 1 space for each one, the other 2, which are for visitor parking, those what we're suggesting is that those could have signage on them that leaves them sort of open for either residential or commercial during daytime hours, but after 6, it's strictly residential for those 2 visitor parking. So that might help. That might help with the space that's out front, number 7, where that one could be actually available for that use during the daytime. Pretty much those were the only real changes. Matt had provided updated plans, and we made sure that we changed the lighting locations to match his updated plans. That's pretty much what we did for changes.
Mr. Sola, you were showing plants. We looked at this so many times. I'm just trying to refresh my memory. Is there a landscape plan with a code for the types of plants? And
it's been so many times that we've been through this. I don't believe that there was a specific outline of those plantings. I think that they were just shown as areas that would be planted.
okay, just to refresh my memory, Shane, did we ask for a landscape plan?
I don't think it did.
I don't think we've asked for a landscaping plan. I think we've been just looking at other things where I think that we looked at it as probably more small shrubbery, not so much shade trees. So I know that we've looked at it from a small plantings perspective, but nothing discussing any shade trees at the location.
All right. What about so Mr. Holmes, does anybody have any questions just on the updated site plan, and we can come back to it if we need to from the board?
I need to step away for 1 second. There was a huge bang on my house, and I got to just 1 second.
So I'll open it up to board questions for the applicant. Or do we want to wait till Mr. Silver's back?
You can probably ask the question, and then if between Jim and I, if we don't know the direct answer, we can refer to Larry when he comes back, if that helps.
So I was just, the right of way, just, I had some questions on the right of way, just to make sure that, Shane, one, if, the right of way, last time we talked about the disturbance in the right of way for the utilities. I didn't see anything provided in terms of like a summary, how that would be repaired. I mean, I know we talked about keeping everything to one side.
Mhm.
And that 10 feet would be completely, and that could be a condition, would be completely repaved. But did you provide any specs on that, Larry, about what would be repaved and what wouldn't be repaved?
No, I think that Jim, Mr. Balsamo actually indicated that what his plans were in terms of paving at the last meeting. But we did look at wow, we got something happening here. I apologize. There's something huge bangs that are happening right now.
I thought you were in the Azores.
No. There, we did look at, and we kept the utility changes on to the best that we could on the second half of the 20-foot passageway.
Yeah.
Okay, we kind of looked at those and tried to do that. They are difficult because to some extent, where those water and gas lines actually are in the pavement are not clearly marked by the utility company. They give you a rough idea. But for the new line that we got to bring in, we kept it on the side, the upper side, for the 4-inch water that has to come in.
So Chair, I remember correctly, I think the applicant said that he would not leave like a trench, that he would actually make it like an L shape if he had to and pave the whole thing, not just patch it.
That's correct.
So we did receive some correspondence, and maybe that can come up later, about one of the potential, and it was brought up at the last meeting, one of the potential right of ways not being correct, or the wrong deed that was presented to us. Did you guys look into that at all, or do we have the accurate deed?
The attorney is the one that provided that information to you. I think that what was indicated was that there was, when looking at the neighboring property, what was provided to you was an easement that's not germane to this. The actual easement that pertains to the 47 to 51 Central Square, well, it's not, is that really what it is? I guess, is the 10-foot portion of the 20-foot right away. So their easements do not, to the best that I can see, do not show that they have full use of the 20-foot passageway, but they do have use of 10 feet of that passageway. But if Mr. Jewell is on tonight, she might want to clarify that further, but that's what their deed shows. And I don't think that's what was provided to the board. I think a different easement was shown to the board.
So and I guess that's my question. So in trying to determine access, do they have 20 feet the entire way, or do they have, that came up at the last meeting, and I know we got some public comment on that since the last meeting, and I'm just trying to ask the question so I better understand it. Is there
our client has full access of the 20-foot passageway?
The whole way, okay.
Right. 43 Central has full rights to the 20-foot.
Okay.
But it appears that the other property, the one that controls those 11 parking spaces that you see there, that they really only have an easement that's 10 feet wide. I could not find one that showed another 10 feet.
All right, and then just going back with the view we're looking at. So I'm just trying to, there's a retaining wall, a small retaining wall that goes along the looks like, Martino property and Todd property. On top of that retaining wall that's there's a fence there, is that correct? For screening?
There is there's a fence shown. There was an existing fence along that stretch.
Is that a new fence now? Is that vinyl? Is that stockade? Is that listed anywhere in there?
I don't believe that there was any designated change in a fence on top of that was indicated to the board. I think the wall was indicated.
I thought there was a fence there to block, like, because cars will be parking right there and shining into that. Wasn't there a fence proposed on top of that?
There's nothing that would be shining in that direction, because that's not, that's a vacant area to the rear of the property. That's a grassed area.
I thought on the detail sheets, they were showing some sort of slat or
Yeah, fence.
some screening within the
If we
vinyl
go to
fence.
the detail page, we might see whether or not it was actually called out on the block detail, the block wall detail. The block wall detail just shows the block wall. Shane, where were you making reference to? A different detail?
No, there was information, I think, on an old plan, because we were talking about off-site lighting.
And that's why I couldn't see it on this set. That's why I was looking.
Yeah, it was on a previous set. There's
A fence detail there. But it doesn't necessarily say in plan view that is along that entire parking area.
Can I step in? On top of that wall, there would be a 5-foot chain link black fabric fence. There will be.
okay, that's what I thought we
Okay,
saw at
so-
some point.
All right, all right. And then more to Mr. Holmes, I know, and maybe for the public's benefit, if you could bring up well, actually, you know what, before we go into those, so I'll open it up to any other board member questions on the site plan.
Pat, could I ask a question?
Sure, Mr. Praddy, go ahead.
Larry, just very quickly, I'm not sure about this right of way, but I know looking back in older deeds that I had access to some time ago, some deeds, some right of ways are specified for horse-drawn cart. Some right of ways are specified for foot traffic. Is there any designation on this right of way for commercial as opposed to residential, and must it be updated?
These right of ways go back a long time, and they talk about them as passageways. They're not that specific. They were done and granted in a I want to say in a pre-automobile kind of time frame. But they've been in place and been utilized long after the automobiles have been in place. Frito-Lay used to work out of this building in the back, and it was a furniture upholsterer. I mean, there was a lot of different commercial uses in here. There's I saw aerials myself of trucks that were in there, and there was a loading dock on the south side of the building that was utilized over its history. So it evolved from being whatever was intended in the beginning, or whatever was the means of travel, to just being a 20-foot passageway.
But this residential aspect of this particular layout is new, so this.
It didn't. There was nothing in there that precluded it. It didn't
Okay.
say 20-foot passageway for commercial use only. There was never that kind of detail.
Well, there was no zoning for residential back there before, was there?
There was no zoning back at the time when that passageway was created.
The standard under title is open and notorious use, and all of the uses that Larry has articulated, constitute open and notorious use. So, I mean, residential, commercial, I mean, it's been used for an extended period of time
Right.
for access.
Okay, I was just asking because I'm not quite sure of the of what is true compared to what was originally done, whether there needed to be an update, but supposedly not. Okay,
Yeah.
It says in use as in common with abutters, and there is residential abutters using it and commercial abutters using it. So
Okay.
it states that I can use it as they do.
okay, very good.
Okay. Any other board questions at this point?
Nothing at this time.
No, I'm good, Pat. You brought up what I was gonna ask of the deed.
So, and I don't know why I thought this, but just, I'm looking at Mr. Silva's letter. No net loss of parking, right? So for some reason, I thought there was an extra spot on here. I thought there were 8 spots, but, Shane, does this meet the no net loss in parking in your opinion? I know you provided a letter on that.
Sure, I would say that from all indications from past site plans, there was never really a strong, parking layout at the site before. Looking at there weren't really older plans. It looked like there was probably potentially 2 or 3 parking spaces that were utilized for commercial as well as the overhead bay. I feel as I'm comfortable with that meeting those special permit requirements. I think that the intent of the ordinance when it was formulated was to look at properties in the CBDS district that have issues. I know that we kind of look at open spaces, something that needs to meet the requirements here, whereas this property has, meets the open space requirements, but takes up a portion of the site that could be utilized for parking, as we've indicated in the past. But in terms of utilization of parking on site, based on that and open space, I think that the attempt to have as many parking spaces on site has been clearly trying to be met. It's just a question of with the board's comfort in terms of, looking for utilization of the commercial spaces to be utilized off-site. If the intent is for mixed use, I think that it should be clear that the residential parking on site is clearly the most important, whereas commercial parking can be utilized per the ordinance up to 500 feet away. So as I provided in my memo, there's opportunities not only just on Central Square on the left side, but opportunities as well. And I kind of focused my attention not so much on Church Street, but more so opportunities in public parking on Central Square, as well as utilization of the public parking lot that you have access off the other side of Central Square as well.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, any other site questions? Mr. Holmes, could you bring up the architectural plans?
Sure.
So could you go more to the outside? So I know in the past you said you're thinking of this, you're thinking of that, but if we approve a materials or consider approving a materials list, I mean, if it changes, it would have to come back for a modification. So is this the, I guess, the palette of colors and
This
spec of materials that is this the final design of materials and things of that nature?
Yes, as far as materials, as far as the walls. Now, one thing that Mr. Balsamo and I have been talking about is whether there's actually going to be a standing seam metal roof or whether we go to an asphalt shingle. So that is something that we're looking into, and that obviously a big part of that is cost. Standing seam metal roof is, typically 4 times the cost of asphalt. As far as the new added second level, that is going to be a hardy board type cement fiber board type material. The color palette we've discussed, we think kind of this lightish gray might be the best way to go, as far as, not making this too, I don't want to say obnoxious color or anything like that. It's just kind of understated in that way. The lower level, the existing exterior walls will be will be actually painted, cleaned up and painted even into another lighter tone color to kind of give you that brightness and that look. So, yes, as of right now, to answer your question, yes, that the materials, that is what's going to be used for the walls. The roof might change to a asphalt shingle. As far as the windows, yeah, our thought is that it will have, you know, a black frame around these are shown as single hung windows, which is in keeping with the downtown area, you know, that have double hungs or single hungs. And then the first level, those large punched openings, they're going to be converted back. Some of those are actually bricked in right now. They're going to be knocked back out. We're going to get the openings back that were originally there in the building, particularly on this side, this drive side. They've been closed up, but we're going to reopen them, and those will be a storefront that will obviously match the windows above for colors of frame.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other material questions? One thing is, depending on what happens maybe on the commercial space, I just want to mention this. Right now, I'm just showing this garage over this glass overhead door, and just to let everyone know that might be new to this, this is an existing overhead door right now. We do want to keep this because of the options it can bring for commercial, having an overhead door. This is shown as glass just to show that, hey, if there's a certain type of use that goes in there that can utilize an overhead glass door or have some sort of fenestration through it, but that could also become, depending on what goes in there, a more closed off, not a transparent overhead door.
Got any board questions on the architecturals?
I could pull some other views too if
Yeah, sure.
Is there a need to go over this at all anymore? Does anyone think, or has the past kind of, we vetted the building?
All right, any board questions on the plans?
Nope, nothing at this time.
All right, Mr. Tanzi, just before we go to public comment, it seems like your latest letter, they've addressed the drainage and other concerns that you had. Are there any outstanding issues from your department?
No, there are not.
Okay.
And just
Mr. O'Brien, did we hear back from the fire department? I know you made several attempts. Did we hear anything?
I did not, as of this time, I have not heard from the fire department for any comments regarding this project.
Can I just jump in on that? And I think Mr. Balsamo want to as well. Mr. Balsamo and I actually met with the fire department as well. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of that, just to review everything.
Okay. Thank you.
The fire department had no concerns. Their only request, and it's not a definite, is that front landscaped area where we agreed to put a vertical curb. They might rather that be stone, so if they have to access the building number 35, their truck can make that swing. That's their only thing they were talking about.
No, we don't have a comment on that, so we can leave it the way it is for now, so.
Yep. But that was their only concern. Everything else they were fine with.
All right, I'll open it up if the board, board have any questions on architecturals or revised site plan or anything like that? Okay, and I know we did receive I think 2 emails regarding public comments. Is that correct, Shane? Was it just 2?
Let me just be sure. It was either 2 or 3. But I believe it was 2.
So hopefully everybody had a chance to review those and.
Yep, I forwarded it along to you guys.
All right, so I'll open it up to public comment. I'll have Shane help me manage that, Mr. O'Brien, and if there's anybody that would like to speak, you can raise your hand virtually. You can raise your hand if you don't know how to raise it virtually. Just please state your name and your address for the record, and let's try to keep all comments respectful.
Sure thing. And I received actually 3 comments.
Three.
With the one that we received today, one the other day, and then one previous to that. But I have a chat of a Tony Robinson with their hand raised. Tony, if you would like to speak.
Evening. My name is Tony Robinson. I'm here with my sister Erica Berry. We are both tenants at 18 Wall Street of Jim. We are just here this evening to inform you of such a fantastic landlord that we have. He's always very responsive. We also appreciate that he lives in town and he's very accessible anytime that we need him.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Any other, I see Mr. Moore.
Yep, Dave Moore. You're good to go, Dave.
Mr. Moore, I think you're muted still.
Oh, you good?
Okay, I sent 2 of those letters in, so I hope that if anybody else did, that they get counted also. Earlier in this meeting, I specifically asked Shane how many off-site parking spaces would be needed, and he responded back that 9 would be needed. I think in both of my letters, I made the comment that the trustees or the members of Fellowship Lodge are not opposed to the redevelopment of the property. We just question the intensity of redevelopment. And we feel as though, although the bylaw allows parking within 500 feet, human nature of any reasonable person would expect that if a space is open, they've got to go in that building, they're going to park there. They're going to park in the first available parking space. And it's going to be up to the businessmen in the area to have to police this. They have to chase these people out, people coming to visit for any length of time, people coming to do business and so forth. The need for 9 off-site parking spaces, I feel as though is a real hindrance for the poor businessmen in the area. Some days it'll be no problem at all. But to think that a person is going to park on the other side of the common and cross that common traffic is just, in my opinion, it's unrealistic. And I think if this goes to court, we're looking at a reasonable person. And I think a reasonable person isn't going to park 500 feet away in the pouring rain, the middle of the winter, the dark of night or whatever. They're not going to drive around looking for a space 500 feet away. They're going to park at the first available space and deprive a businessman. And then as far as the use of the right-of-way, I understand, I agree with Mr. Silva's comments that it's a very general easement. I've seen a lot of them in my career, and this is probably one of the most general ones I've ever seen. And they go back, it goes back to the 1880s. And obviously there were no automobiles and so forth. They were even considered. But to consider adding 5 or 4 residential units at the end of a dead-end 20-foot easement, that is just, it is just not right. It's unrealistic to think of it. And I don't know what happened in 1880 when that easement was drawn up, but I think any reasonable person could assume that that was never, ever envisioned by anybody signing that easement, that there were going to be 4 residential units built on the end of a dead-end street with no, with just easement access. I just see that as unreasonable to even imagine that. So I guess that would be it.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Chair, can I ask Mr. Moore a question?
Sure, Mr. McDonald, go ahead.
Mr. Moore, you were talking about you believe the development there is too intense for the property. If I could ask, in your opinion, what would be an appropriate intensity of development for that site?
What's been there for the last 100 years?
So just a single floor commercial use? You
Yes.
think that's the appropriate use?
And I would go so far as to concede that a couple units there, just as long as all the parking was contained on site, that's the biggest thing. If the day comes when the property behind you, the bank property, possibly some cooperative effort between all the businessmen in the area get together, like you have in East Bridgewater, Middleborough, Brockton, Taunton, and so forth. And you get together and you have large amounts of publicly accessed parking. I'd see no problem with your 4 units at all. But right now, it's just so restricted, so limited there that anything other than 1 or 2 units in a commercial use where you can contain all the parking on site, but to think about putting it out around a common, it's crazy, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
All right, we have Donna Jewell with her hand raised.
Hi, Donna Jewell. We're in a butter at 57 Central Square. I do have one question first, and where are the employees going to park for the commercial that will be working in the commercial space?
If somebody from the team wants to answer that, if not, we can just take it as a comment and.
I have secured parking for the employees, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's a little vague, sir.
All right, well, let's move on with the questions. We don't need to get into a back and forth.
And how many employee parking space, I'm sorry, how many customer parking spaces are required?
Mr. Silver and Mr. Holmes.
It all depends on what the square footage of the commercial space is gonna be. I think right now I would have to look, and then, you know, the thing with the commercial space is, what's the commercial space gonna be, the use? Which is right now, which is an unknown. So, if we base it off of 250 square, one space per 250 square feet. Right now, the commercial space is shown as 2,459 square feet. So as Shane alluded to before, somewhere in that neighborhood, it'll be 9 parking spaces required.
Okay, so those I just would like to clarify, do those need to be determined the location before the project is approved?
Mr. O'Brien.
No, as the ordinance indicated, as long as there's availability of parking up to 500 feet, the board can approve a special permit based on any information or a parking statement that the applicant provides. So if there's availability of public parking, that's okay. They can't park on private property, but if there's any inclination of available public parking or some sort of agreement within 500 square feet, I'm sorry, 500 feet, not 500 square feet, 500 feet of the location, the board can approve a special permit.
For customers, but not for employees, is that correct?
It's for whoever will be utilizing the retail space. It doesn't for this parking code, it doesn't specify for employees as it wouldn't for all applicable items. The only projects that would require employee spaces would be for restaurant spaces based on our parking code.
All right, but just, and not to debate it, Mr. O'Brien, we have a special permit criteria for granting the parking, so it.
And then a point of clarification on the right of way, there are 3 parcels that combine to make the right of way. The one that is for 47-51 Central Square, did I hear correctly that will not be needed to be used for any utility easements? Is that what I heard said?
If you look on the site plan, there's a note on the site plan that says that any utility changes would be done on the up portion of the right of way. It's if you go back to the site plan, it's actually shown within the footprint of the Fellowship Lodge. On that plan, there's a note.
Okay, and I also know that when we last talked at the last meeting, I questioned whether the applicant's attorney had reviewed the correct right away, and Larry Silver and I talked about that, and we identified that it should have been for the 47-51 Central Square, not for the 57 Central Square. So has your attorney reviewed that to know what's allowed and what isn't allowed?
My attorney has reviewed it and submitted a letter to the board.
Okay, how may I access a copy to that letter?
Jan, is that on, do we have that online?
I have the original letter that Bob Pellegrini, Attorney Pellegrini, had sent to us.
That was the one dated in January, I think.
That would be, I believe, correct, January or
There
February.
would have, that was the one that had the incorrect parcel listed. It should be for, the book and page would be book 21614, page 185. The one that was in that January packet was not that parcel.
Mr. Silver, Mr. Holmes? Do you want to speak?
That's actually, I agree with what she's saying. There was, I believe, an incorrect reference in that. It referred to another easement that's not related to this project. But to go back to the other question, if you see what's on the screen now, in where the building is for number 39, there's a note up there about all utility installations related to 43R would be in the northern part of the 20-foot passageway.
Okay. And then just the last part, I would just want to reiterate, our concern for vehicle and pedestrian safety in the proposed project. It still remains a concern, even though I appreciate the fact that the size of the project was downsized. But based on that concern, I just want to be open and upfront and tell you that we are considering adding a gate at both ends of our right of way. We know that if we decide to do that, that we have to provide access by a key for your tenants or customers to be able to lock or unlock both gates. But I didn't want to catch anybody by surprise should we decide to go ahead with that. That is allowed by law for that parcel.
My deed says unobstructed.
Yeah, correct.
Well, let's
But-
not, we'll ask for.
Please let me just finish.
Yeah,
Unobstructed means we cannot lock the gate. We can put the gate there and provide either keypad access, an unlocked access, or a padlock with a key. We can't lock somebody out, but we can provide them access. I just wanted to state that because I want anybody to get caught by surprise down the road should we decide to do that.
Mr. George, just for clarification, that's referenced, could you repeat that book and page number again?
Sure. The book is 21614, page 185.
And can you explain to me what that refers to? Is that I assume that's the 10 feet behind the 11 spots?
Yes.
Or am I wrong?
It would be looking down towards the project. It would be the right of way that runs along the left-hand side behind the parking spaces.
Behind the 11 parking spaces that Mr. Silva pointed out earlier, correct?
Correct. So you'd bet the way those cars now, they back out onto that
Okay.
section.
And just for the record, it's impossible to back out into a 10-foot right of way without going into the other section in order to go in or out of those spaces.
Well, it's a little bit more than 10 feet if you pull all the way up. And I knew that was going to come up and I tried that and I'm not the best parker, but it worked for me. But anyway, I just didn't want to catch anybody by surprise. And I think it's necessary to look at the correct deed first. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Silva.
If I get, there was an earlier comment, Mr. Moore is still on the line here. There was an earlier comment about where would someone park in order to go to a use that's here or whatever. I mean, I would suggest that, he knows the Fellowship Lodge and they don't have any very much designated parking, maybe behind their building, a few spaces. But if they have an event in their place, people are going to park somewhere else. And I think that's a fair statement that people find a place to park when they want to go to something that they're intending to go to. And I don't think that this is any different than that, except that the residential component of it, yeah, is being provided with parking spaces to meet the regulation.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Silva. We have Mr. Sylvia looking to speak. Shane?
Yeah, he's good to go. Oh. John, you're good to go.
John Sylvia, 43 Central Square. Can you hear me, Shane?
Go ahead, Mr. Sylvia. We can hear you.
It continues. You can see from the new site plan the limited amount of space for parking. Nothing's really changed along that lines. And, you know, I've heard about the commercial. No one knows what it's going to be. It could be anything, you know, but one parking spot. Off-site parking is not going to work. I mean, people are going to just drive in and park everywhere. It already happens with some of the stores out front, the nail salons and the coffee shop and so forth and so on. And it's an ongoing problem. They park all over the place. And this is just going to exacerbate it. You're looking for 9 more spots, and the people are just going to park right next to the building. And again, if it's allowed, the people will be parking straight into that building, and people will try to pass it on the left-hand side to get access to the back, which brings the cars right up against our building. And Mr. Silver had said last meeting something about the north end and how everybody, you know, the buildings are all close and so forth. But there's no businesses or restaurants in the north end where the people open the door to exit and step into two-way traffic. And that's what's going to happen. There's no place there, and there's no place in Bridgewater. It's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. So I think that's a big problem. The safety is a big deal. Big deal. We have to be protected. Our building has to be protected, and our customers and our families. And there's never been cars out back, two-way traffic, never, since I've been there. And like Mr. Moore had mentioned, the right-of-way was set up years ago, 100 years ago, when there were no automobiles, and now there are. And the planning board's been there to see the site. They realize how close it is in there. The people are gonna have to make a left turn to get in there and a right turn to get out. It's not gonna work. It's just too big. It should stay a commercial spot, which is fine. That's in the neighborhood. We need business. And that's what it should be. There's parking out back for a business. But the apartments aren't gonna work. It's gonna be a big problem. Their friends are gonna park all times of the day and night or whatever in the parking lot. And it's a big problem. So that's how I feel about it. And I like Mrs. Jewell's idea of the gates. You know, that would work. And we're in a 200-year-old building that we have, and it can't take the pressure from all kinds of traffic right up against it all day long. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer. Is there any other public comment at this point?
Mr. Driscoll, I'd like to speak, please.
Sure, Mr. Rowley, go ahead.
So I direct people to the 2022 Comprehensive Master Plan that the town adopted that talked about mixed-use development in the Central Business District. I think that this project is consistent with that. I appreciate people's opinions and about traffic and parking. I don't necessarily agree. Every community I've ever worked in, I tell people that you don't have a parking problem, you have a parking management problem. The idea that employees should park in front of where they work, that's a problem. They should be directed otherwise. But I would ask anyone on this call today, have you ever been to a mall and how far you walked to get into the mall, and then how far you walked around the mall? Or if you went to Campus Plaza, if you went to 3 stores in Campus Plaza, do you get in your car and move to every one of those? So, I mean, the notion that, parking and safety is an issue, I'm lost on that. You know, every Wednesday afternoon, whether it's the middle school or high school, there's students that flood into downtown. We haven't lost any of those. I mean, so this is a good project. I mean, this is an underutilized site. This is consistent with the master plan. This is something that's going to add. We have a housing crisis in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, whether people believe it or not, we do. This is adding housing. This is expanding the tax base. There's nothing wrong with this project. This applicant has made numerous adjustments to accommodate the public. The suggesting that, you know, we're going to put a gate in, well, Mr. Balsamo should put a gate in because tenants for Mr. D'Amelio's building are cutting across his property to get to that property. So I think if we're going to be honest about this, we should be very honest about it in terms of what the implications are. So, I mean, as the Director of Community and Economic Development, whether people like me or not, this is a good project. This is good for the town of Bridgewater, and we should be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rulli.
Can I just add something as well on that?
Sure, Mr. Holmes, we had Mr. Sylvia put his hand. Are you all set, Mr. Sylvia, or do you have something to add?
I do.
So go ahead, Mr. Sylvia.
Mr. Rulli doesn't live in town, and it's not, this is not a mall. It's a small area, a very postage stamp area. It's not the Roach Brothers. It's not anything like it in town. You can't compare the two at all. And it's not, you're not living here. This is not your business here. So it has nothing to do with you.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvia.
Just, you know, really, the planning board's been to the lot. They understand how small it is. It's a very small area.
Mr. Driscoll, I'd like the chance to respond to Mr. Sylvia's comment.
1 minute, so we can move on. Go ahead, Mr.
You're
Rulli.
correct. I do not live in town. Many employees in the town hall don't live in town. That's such a ridiculous statement. My job is to promote economic development and community development in the town of Bridgewater. And I think I've been doing a good job for the last 2.5 years to do that. My representation in terms of Campus Plaza or a mall is people, and Mr. Moore made the comment that people won't walk. They do. Mr. Moore made a comment to me months ago that it would be better if people just drove from one side of Central Square to the other. That's just bad planning. So whether I live in town or not is not my fiduciary responsibility, is to better the town of Bridgewater.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvia. We're not going to have a back and forth. It's a public comment. So if you have something new to add, I don't want to go back and forth,
All right.
Mr. Rulli.
Thanks,
Do you have
Pat.
something new to add?
No, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment at this point?
Can I,
Mr. Brooks, go ahead.
can I just mention one quick thing? Right now, cars are going through there constantly anyway. If you do take out the housing, which was suggested, and just do a commercial space, well, the parking is going to be back there for the commercial space. It doesn't save traffic and cars from going back there. If you have just a building that is a commercial space, those 7 parking spaces are still going to be there and cars are still going to go there. So that is not an argument of just making it a commercial space and redevelop a commercial space to cut down on the traffic and the danger going through there. It doesn't change. It's just being switched for another use. My argument and my thought on this is that when you put in residential, as far as people coming back there and just parking willy-nilly, if you have a residential use back there, that residential use will help police that better, because when you have tenants back there that can't get their car through, or they're getting blocked by people parking from the public in the way of getting through, that's when it's going to be brought to a head and become an issue. So the residential is actually going to help police that back there. And if you want to just go with commercial, it's not cutting down on cars. It's just going to be replaced with the parking spots for the commercial use. It might actually be worse, because now cars are going to pull in there thinking they can get a spot, and there won't be enough spots. So then they're going in and turning around all the time. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Yep.
We have a Steph with their hand raised.
My name's Steph D'Amelia, owner of 37 Central Square with my two brothers. Mr. Rulli made a comment. First of all, my last name is D'Amelia with an A, not an O.
No,
And am I being heard?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So secondly, he made a comment about me driving over the property or my tenants driving over the property of 43R. That is incorrect. We don't drive over 43R's property at all. And lastly, I want to mention that in 2001, when we decided to build our project, we had to get permission from the Masonic Lodge, the owners of the Torrey House, and the owners of the trophy shop, which is John Sylvia and the Jewell family, prior to us getting a permit to being able to pull a permit to build. So we met with all the people prior to construction. Now, I know Mr. Balsamo personally. I think he's a great guy. I like the project. I'm not against it. So I've never spoken negatively about any of this. So Mr. Rulli, I would appreciate if you left me out of this. That would really be nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Amelia. Anybody else that would like to speak?
I don't see any virtual hands raised at this time, Mr. Chair.
So Shane, just a question, right?
Yep.
Maybe a question to Mr. Balsamo first. So Mr. Balsamo, you said, and I don't need to know where or what or anything, but you said you may have some off-site parking. Is that correct?
I do, but just because of the track record.
No, so I guess my question is, and like I said, I'm happy that you reduced the size of the building and it makes it a better project, but just looking at the criteria for the special permit and then no net loss of parking. So I think Mr. Silver indicated that you had 2 commercial spots prior to this project, and you need 6 for the residential. So now you only have 1 for the commercial. So that to me shows a net loss of 1 parking spot if you do the net calculation. If the board, and I don't know what the board's going to do, but I just asking the question so we don't give you a condition that you may not want. If the board said that you needed to find 1 spot off-site as a condition to meet the no net loss criteria, is that something that you could do or you'd be open to, or no?
I'd be open to it. I'd rather it not a condition, just because I do want to make it cleaner. But I will be putting in my lease. You can put in a condition that in my lease to the commercial, that it will be spelled out that they have no parking on site, employees or otherwise. I have.
I guess my question, and it says that the criteria that Mr. O'Brien wrote us a pretty detailed letter in regards to the summary proceedings. And in there, he said that the applicant cannot meet the parking standards of these bylaws on property where the use is proposed in any of the lot, and you have provided as many parking spaces as reasonably possible, which is section B. It says an applicant for no net loss must submit an application. So if we're trying to determine no net loss, and I'm not saying the board's going to go with it or not, I'm just asking, just so if we get into deliberations and we're saying, hey, in order to grant a special permit, we need 1 more parking space. Is that something you'd be able to do, secure 1 more parking space somewhere to meet that criteria?
I believe I would.
Mr. Chairman, that's assuming that your interpretation is that you're suggesting that there is a net loss.
Right, and that's that's just the way I look at it. So, I mean,
I don't see that there's a net loss.
Okay.
You redevelop the property and you have more parking than you had initially. That's a net gain.
That's how I understood it as well.
Okay. I understood it that if you started with 2 and you need 6, you have 8, there's no net loss, but that's just the way I interpret it, and maybe, you know, we can talk about that in the deliberations, so. Okay, any other, I saw a hand up, anybody else? Mr.
Yeah.
Morgan,
Yeah, I'm not clear. I'm not clear on the term no net loss of parking. I agree that there is no net loss of parking on the site because he has, you know, what he had before was 2, took down a piece of the building, improved the back. Yeah, he's got a gain of parking on the site, but no net loss of parking. How do you explain that to the businessmen out front that they're not losing parking because there's 4 residential units are coming in and they're going to take your spaces? How do you explain that to them?
well, and that's maybe a question we have to get clarified, so about the no net loss. Mr. D'Amelia, do you have something else to add, or is that hand up from last time?
Yeah, I was just making sure that I had a conversation with Mr. Balsamo, and I just wanted to reiterate it, and he can comment after I'm done. Our parking area abuts his building pretty tight. He had mentioned if he wanted to paint the building, I said, just give me a couple days and I will put some cones up and make sure the tenants don't park up against his building so that he can access with a ladder or whatever. However, I'm going to say about 90% of our parking lot has a recharge system with infiltrators below. And I did mention this to Jim, but I wanted to go on record that it's not designed to take on any heavy equipment or delivery trucks or anything like that. I'm hoping that, you know, we can make sure that doesn't happen. And also, I'm just curious where the subcontractors will be parking. Hopefully they won't take up the parking spots on my property. I'm willing to work with Mr. Balsamo at any time, as long as we communicate well and stuff like that. But that's something I'd like on record.
Thank you.
100%. They will be parking on our site. All deliveries will be delivered to the site. The heaviest thing that would be a scissor lift. That's all I would need on, like we discussed. But I agree with everything you said, and we agree.
All right, if there is no other public comment, Mr. D'Amelia, is your hand still up, or is that from last time?
I don't know how to take it down, so.
All right. Is there any other public comment at this point?
I don't see any virtual hands raised, nor anyone in the chat
Okay, so
indicating they want to talk.
all right, so we'll close the public comment period. So we'll come back to the staff board questions, comments. So Mr. O'Brien, just Mr. Silver indicated that he agreed with Mrs. Jewell regarding the wrong deed being reviewed for that right away. And I just want to make sure that if we approve this, there is the access we believe there is. How do you think that we should handle that?
I would say that from a site plan review perspective and a planning board perspective, I think there in all indications that the site is able to be accessed from if the property were to remain a commercial venture. So all this talk about gates and fences being placed on properties where it would be acceptable to access if it was a commercial use comparative to a mixed use. I think that we have to consider that there are private property rights involved as part of this, which may not necessarily affect this site plan review, but it may affect it post any decision making. But
I guess my concern is that if a gate can be put up, and we don't know that now, or if it can't be put up, we don't know that now, and we require an 18-foot access to a mixed-use building. So is that something you think we should have clarified?
I would say no. I would say that in regards to access, whether a gate be placed up because a project exists or not, is more of an opportunistic take rather than something that the board's looking at. We're looking at it from a perspective where the property owner at 43 Rear Central Square has had access to their property, whether it be by horse, buggy, pedestrian, or car for the last hundreds of years, and all of a sudden now circulation does exist. I understand in terms of some of the abutters' perspectives in terms of access, But from a site plan perspective and what the board's purview is, it seems that access is appropriate here. There was no requirement for frontage of a property in this zoning district. So the fact that there's no frontage for this property doesn't mean that it couldn't be redeveloped. So just based on my review and through my memo packet, there's nothing within the criteria of site plan approval that indicates this project doesn't meet that criteria.
All right, any other, so just looking for the board for some direction. I mean, do we want to, we've been at this for a while. Do we want to continue the public hearing? Do we want to close the public hearing? Do we have more questions for staff or for the applicant? Please participate and let me know what you guys are thinking.
I guess I would just say, I completely agree with Mr. O'Brien. Any kind of locking gate, whether it be keypad or padlock, by definition obstructs access to commercial. So I think we shouldn't take that possibility into account at all, because it's not a realistic outcome. They wouldn't be able to do it. I'm trying to think of also, Mr. O'Brien, that entryway to the site, that is currently a two-way drive, is it not?
It is. If one car came down there or two cars came down, they would have to find a way to, slowly drive past each other. So, there's no arrows on the ground. I don't think there'd be any indication of arrows on the ground. But yeah, it's a two-way area. It's just, there's never enough sufficient traffic where you ever really see vehicles next to each other or passing each other.
Thank you. And I actually had a question for Mr. Holmes, if he's available.
Yep, go ahead.
I believe you touched on it a bit in your last comment, but I don't do like parking studies. I'm sure you've had them undertaken though. In your experience, or in your opinion, would you say commercial or residential generates the most traffic? Broadly speaking.
I think Larry probably has a better input on this than I do, but in my experience with projects is that depending on what the commercial is, obviously can create much more traffic than residential.
Because I would assume the assumption is, with residential, your average expectation would be, resident leaves for work, comes back, so that's 2 journeys. Maybe they go out one more time to go shopping during the day or something like that. So you're talking 3. But with commercial, you would expect pretty much constant traffic, at least you would hope, for the business's sake.
Yeah, like I said, depending on what the business is, right? So,
of course,
for example, if this commercial space, just throwing it out there, if this commercial space becomes an architect's office, let's say, or an engineering office, that's not really generating a ton of traffic, right? If it becomes, Chipotle, well, then, yeah, then it can obviously be a little bit more traffic or retail. So it greatly depends on the commercial. In my opinion, and I think Mr. Balsamos kind of alluded to this, which is if he is looking to lease out this commercial space and he puts in his lease that you do not have parking available at all for your commercial space, or maybe just one, well, then that would probably most likely be whatever person or organization's putting commercial in there. That's probably a big consideration for them, whether they want to lease that space from Mr. Balsamo. So, when I hear people discuss this issue, I feel like kind of the burden falls back on Mr. Balsamo of finding someone to get that commercial space too, that space will work for. And part of that is if you don't have parking. So I would think it's probably difficult to have someone say, I'm going to open up something that would require someone to drive a car there all the time, and a customer that wants to go there and drive a car all the time. Coffee shop, yeah, might be great because people can walk to downtown. That's the goal with what we're trying to do down. So,
all right, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Do you have anything else?
Yes, just a question for Mr. Balsamo. Mr. Balsamo, kind of going out the previous question, do you have a type of commercial tenant in mind? Is there something like you're envisioning that space to be?
No, well, I'm leaving myself options. I can envision an electrician taking it, parking inside at night, storage, like keeping his material, his tools in. Minimal traffic is what I'm striving for. But do I have someone particular? No, but that's what I envision. So that's why I really don't think the commercial parking will be an issue.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, sir. That's all for me, Mr. Chair.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah, just based on the plans provided, the applicant is looking to follow parking code H based on their plan set. So if we're looking at our zoning ordinances of that, of course, is 1 space per 250 square feet of gross floor area. And all indications of typical uses that would follow that would be neighborhood retail, general retail, personal service establishment, general services establishment. So if it were an eating establishment, it would probably require a more intensive parking use, which we would probably have to look for a modification of a special permit in a future time. But in all indications based on their requests, anything pretty much requiring 9 parking spaces or less would fall under this current special permit request.
And I don't think the use Mr. Balsamo indicated was allowed anyway, like contractor bay, correct?
If it was a personal office, it would be applicable, but not contract. I would say not a contractor bay office per se.
Okay. All right, any other board questions or comments? So I don't know what the board's thinking, if we want to close the public hearing, if we want to keep it open so we can think about it for one more meeting and come up with some meaningful discussion to have in deliberation and make sure we capture the correct conditions. It's a difficult site. If we move towards an approval, we want to make sure that everybody's protected. If we want to close the public hearing and deliberate later, next meeting, we can do that as well. Just looking for some recommendations, Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah, I just wanted to indicate, as I said earlier, we have 4 planning board members that are able to vote on this matter. That would be MJ, Michael McDonald, Steve Geller, and yourself, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Say those again.
MJ Spagone, Michael McDonald, Stephen Geller, Patrick Driscoll. Eric Costa was previously participating on this matter. He is not here today, as well as Mr. Haley missed 2 meetings, so could not file a Mullen.
Okay. What is the board's thought about the public hearing at this point? Do we want to keep it open for one more meeting or do we want to close it?
I guess my question or concern there would be with the muddy status of the deed that seems to be in dispute. Do we need like council opinion, or I mean, like how can we proceed?
So I wrote a couple things down that I want, so if we close the public hearing tonight, and I'm open to that, either way, I just think that it is, Mr. Balsamo's made a bunch of concessions, but it's still a difficult site. And I just want to make sure that if the board votes to approve it, we're mindful of the issues there, the right of way and how that's repaired, making sure the traffic patterns remain open during construction so businesses are interrupted. Should we check in with Jason Rollins? Do we have any liability on the right of way issue? The no net loss of parking. I just would like to, I wrote down a bunch of notes tonight. We got a bunch of stuff this week. I'm open to closing, whatever you guys want to do. I'm looking for advice, so.
I guess I don't see how we could vote to approve or deny when the status of the deeds in question is unclear to us, if that makes sense.
Can I
So
just
yeah, maybe
say something about the deed? The letter from the letter from BK Boston Law, Robert Pellegrini, is just it doesn't specify their deeds. It just goes over my deeds and what I have rights to. So that does not affect anything.
Right, and I think it's just good for for us to revisit that, and
Yeah, the letters clearly, it doesn't state the wrong deed, doesn't allude to any other deeds except for my own, what I have rights to.
I mean, to be frank, Mr. Balsamo, I'm not a lawyer, and I certainly don't have any expertise in disputing.
Nor am I. That's why I
the-
had to pay
the
for
law.
one.
But I think getting a little clarification from town council
Town council is
could be
not
beneficial.
going to, the town council is not going to opine on this issue. It's not within his purview. This is on, the town council works for, the town attorney works for the town council. He doesn't work for the planning board unless you're being sued. So this is, Mr. Balsamo got an opinion from his attorney. If somebody is aggrieved by that decision or that opinion, they can get another opinion. But the town attorney is not going to opine on this. I just want to be clear about that.
Right, but I think, Mr. Rulli, we could ask him if we have any liability if we
We
move-
don't. I mean, he can't even respond to that.
Okay.
Well, he has in the past, Mr. Rulli. We've got
No, he hasn't.
Yes,
Okay.
he
All right,
hasn't.
all right, thank you. Anything else? How we want to move forward? I'm just looking for a path forward. We've had this before us for a while. If people are open to closing the public hearing, we can do that and gather more information and deliberate at the next meeting, or we can.
I guess I would lean towards the side of keep it open for one more meeting. We'll close it on the next one, and then however it shakes out, it shakes out. But
All right, but if we do that, Mr. McDonald had just asked that we only focus on new information because we can't keep rehashing everything. I'd like to get to a point where we have the information in front of us. We've taken all the testimony. We have all the documents, and we should deliberate. And so if we do that, my goal would be to try to close it quickly at the next meeting and deliberate at the next meeting. Personally, I'm not ready to come up with a bunch of conditions. I wrote a bunch of stuff down. We got some stuff this week. We got some good input today. I just want to make sure that if we do move in that direction, we have meaningful conditions that we can add to make sure that everybody's protected. That's all.
I would agree with that, Mr. Chair. I mean, I was actually gonna recommend that we close the public hearing because we've gone over this and we've heard the same thing over and over. And pretty obvious of how they feel. So
well, if we close the public hearing and somebody wanted to submit evidence or something about the right of way in their favor or against,
they can still do that, right?
I don't think we can once we close the public hearing. Is that correct, Mr. O'Brien?
In terms of accepting new information, I would say not accepting new communication. From all indications, I don't know if from the applicant's perspective, they're going to get another opinion from their legal counsel that pretty much will reiterate the same information. I think that.
But if we close the public hearing, then that means that nobody can send another letter to you that gets forwarded on.
If we close the public hearing and deliberate, if someone forwards public comments, then I wouldn't forward to the board. I've historically in the past still done so, and people still reach out. But it would just limit public comment we wouldn't have a public comment portion of this meeting, and typically board members shouldn't consider public comments after that point.
We have, we have a lot of other stuff to go through tonight. I'd like to decide if we want to close this public hearing. Personally, I would like to deliberate at the next meeting and put all my thoughts together from the last meetings and be able to present some additional conditions if we move in that direction. If somebody thinks differently, then let's talk about it. So I'd just like to get a motion on something.
Mr.
with all due respect to Mr. Geller,
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
if what you just said would be in keeping with closing the public hearing part of it, and your deliberation would happen at the next meeting.
Right, but I'm asking, but Mr. Silver, I'm asking the board if they want to do that. Or we can open it and close it quickly at the next meeting in case something came in. It's just I'm asking the board what they would prefer to do.
I don't think there's any new information to come in. I think you have it all.
Not Mr. Silver, but the board. What's everybody thinking?
With all due respect to Mr. Geller, I would say there's literally no harm in keeping it open. And then we can, if we get no new information, we can quickly close it and then go into deliberations. Whereas if we close it early and then something, potentially important came in, we wouldn't be able to use it.
Is that, are you gonna make?
I'll agree with that.
Okay, so can somebody make a motion? What's the next meeting date, Mr. O'Brien?
Well, can we have a list of things that we should, if we're leaving the public hearing open and we have a list of things that we're writing down, can we make it clear to the applicant?
Well, we might not need anything else. I'm just saying, if somebody submits something to us, we can consider it.
No, I meant not for public perspective, from an applicant perspective.
Well, if people have questions, as hopefully people think about this. I want to think about this over the next week or so and come up with conditions that they think they'd like to present, discuss. And if they have questions, they can reach out to you for clarification during the week or two.
Okay, I guess my question wasn't, is there anything that you are looking from the applicant to provide to the board at that next meeting beyond what we've spoken about today? Because if we're keeping the public hearing open with the expectation that new information is provided, what's that new information that we're looking for the applicant to provide to the board?
I'm not looking for anything, but I just want to get some clarification on my own so I can try to develop some meaningful conditions. That's all.
Understood.
If maybe other members are looking for stuff, I'm not sure.
I'm pretty much the same page as Pat in this one.
So when is the next meeting, Mr. O'Brien?
May 21st.
So I think the goal there is to, just have the board prepared to discuss the project. If they're in favor of it, put together, conditions that we think should be added. This is an unusual site. It has no frontage. It has access shared by a number of properties. And we just want to make sure that it's a successful project and people aren't impacted. So, do we have a motion to continue it to May 21st?
So moved.
By Mr. McDonald.
Second.
The second by Mr. Geller. All right. And I just, basically we'll just focus on new stuff, hopefully close it quickly if there's nothing new to add, and then go right into deliberations. And hopefully everybody can be prepared for that. So we have a motion by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Geller. There's only 4 of us voting, and they were Ms. Pagon?
Yes.
Mr. Geller?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Okay. So I am looking for everything. I'll open the 1010. The next hearing we have this evening is 1010 Elm Street. This is map 30, lot 20, the site plan review on a 10.6 for the construction of a 27,000 square foot commercial building with parking and other site improvements. This is a new hearing. So Mr. O'Brien, can you just confirm that you got you have received the green cards, the fees?
Yep. Yep, we received the green cards today. I think I forwarded over them to you, Mr. Chair, as well as we received the fees. I can pull up the legal ad, Mr. Chair, and we can.
All right, you know what? I'm prepared somewhat today. I printed it off. So if you want to pull it up, that's fine. But
Sure, I'll share it to the members of the public.
Okay, so I'm opening the public hearing on Wednesday, May 7th at 6:30 p.m. The Bridgewater Planning Board will be conducting a public hearing via Zoom. The address is listed for an application by C. Norton Corp. For site plan approval under section 10.6 from the Bridgewater zoning ordinance on a property located at 1010 Elm Street, map 30, lot 20. The proposal is the construction of a 27,000 square foot commercial building with parking and other site improvements. The plans were prepared by PMP Consulting, Inc. and on file of the Office of the Town Clerk and the CED office at 66 Central Square, Bridgewater, Mass. 02324. All interested persons are encouraged to attend. This was posted by the Bridgewater Planning Board and advertised on 4/23/25 and 4/30/25 on the Bridgewater page. I believe that's the Brockton Enterprise. Is that correct, Mr. O'Brien?
That is correct. It's posted in the well-read Brockton Enterprise.
Okay. Okay, so and you confirm that we have received everything from the applicant. You did send out a packet with a memo.
Yep.
Mr. Tanzi I did not see, the one thing I didn't have, and we have Mr. Tanzi here, Mr. O'Brien, the one thing I didn't see is a review from Mr. Tanzi. When I clicked on the Bridgewater town comments, there were two PDFs and they didn't open. So I don't know if you can have that prepared
Yeah, I'll let the applicant respond and provide their presentation, and then I think we can present it too, because I think one of the things that are being associated with this project as well too is that there's an NOI filing at the same time, so things are getting kind of mixed up in between. But I'll let the applicant explain that process as well.
All right, so we'll turn it over to the applicant at this point. And their representatives.
Yep, my name's Ed Jacobs, PMP Consulting, Inc. I have with me Sammy Cripps. She's a site designer for the project. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm here for Kidder on Norton, C. Norton Corp. for the project on 1010 Elm Street. 2.4 acre site. It's in the Elm Street Industrial District. You're looking at it there. 27,000 square foot building with associated parking and pavement to go with it. The site right now is mostly clear. Slopes approximately 5 feet down from Elm Street down to the wetlands in the back. It's currently being used by client for material and trailer storage. The wetlands that you see along the back of the property over there, that was delineated by Environmental Consulting and Restoration back in July, and field located by our firm. The building itself, Sammy, go back to that layout materials. The building itself will have 12 bays to store vehicles in, along with 2 wash bays. So there'll be 12 total bays, and 2 wash bays will be included in that. The bays will be used for vehicle storage. Basically, Mr. Norton owns a property down the street where he runs his business out of. This will just be to store his trucks at night. Bring them into the wash bay, clean them up, and then store them. The building's big enough so he can back the trucks in with trailers on them. In the summertime, there's storage for his winter operations, which would be sanders, plows, things of that nature. There'll only be 1 employee in the building during the day. He'll just be a mechanic on site in case, a truck gets broken down during the day or whatnot. And he'll fix that and wash the trucks at the end of the day and park them in the building. The building has floor drains, 1 in every bay. They'll be connected to an oil gas separator. There we go. They'll be directed to a oil gas separator out in front of the building, and then that'll be gravity fed over to a sewer manhole, and then it'll be force main up to an existing connection just off the street up there. We are, as Shane alluded to, going in front of Concom at the same time. We're just about wrapped up with them. Mr. Tanzi has looked over the stormwater report and the stormwater plan. He had a couple of issues on that, and we sent him over a letter with addressing all the comments today. And I know he probably hasn't had a chance to look at it, but we believe we've addressed all the comments on his letter that we received, I believe, on the 2nd. That's about it. I mean, I can answer any questions that you may have, but that's just a quick overview of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. And maybe, Mr. Tanzi can weigh in on this as well. I was looking at the site, and it seems like is the drainage basically just sheet drainage that it's all pitched away to that swale, so to speak, like this.
Correct.
So I guess my question is just when you don't have the traditional catch basins, what pretreatment is there for oil, gas that may be leaking out of a vehicle, things of that nature? How, if it doesn't go through a conventional storm drain with a hood and it goes directly into the soil, how does that prevent from groundwater contamination?
Yeah, what we're showing is at the edge of the pavement, we have a 2-foot wide crushed stone diaphragm with a filter fabric on top. Basically, what we've done in the past is the filter fabric will be under 2 feet, about 2 inches of pea stone, so they can be scraped off, filter fabric replaced, and put the pea stone back on top. The swale has check dams in it to hold back the water so that it'll infiltrate before it gets to the forebay.
But I guess my question is, if this is proposed as a trucking site and there's a lot of fuel in those trucks on site, if there was a fuel leak or fuel break, wouldn't it be better to have curbing along that area with catch basins that could contain the leak and provide a hood instead of contaminating the ground?
Well, all the trucks will be stored inside the building. So the only
Well, I guess I'm just saying, if anything happened on that impervious area, I guess, and Mr. Tanzi, I'm just concerned, is there enough, are there enough safety measures in so that, because typically most projects we see the catch basins with curbing that can contain that, and there's hoods and oil water separators and things of that nature that would protect the groundwater in that area. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just wondering, is this design appropriate for this use in this location?
Okay,
Well-
I'll let Mr. Tanzi comment on that.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, Mr. Chairman, and your concerns are valid. However, it does conform to the rules and the regulations. They do have an oil water separator, an MDC oil water separator for storage of vehicles inside the building. If there was a spill or rupture of a tank as traffic, truck traffic is entering into the facility, it will be captured in that diaphragm. The diaphragm will have filter fabric where those hydrocarbons would be caught and contained. It would require some immediate action, removal of contaminated stones and the filter fabric, and of course it would have to be replaced. It would have to, most likely you'd have to test down 6 inches, make sure that there isn't any residual hydrocarbon, and then the pea stone diaphragm would have to be reconstructed. It's a little bit more awkward than a catch basin with a sump, but it is the regs. The regs do allow it. You do have some spill containment in that diaphragm, as well as pre-treatment in the swale and the check dam, and you also have a forebay prior to going into the detention basin. All other flows are roof runoff flows or overland grass flows, which are considered to be clean. So
yeah, I just if it's allowed, I'm fine with it. And so you feel that so this proposal is basically saying there's going to be no outside parking of vehicles overnight. Is that correct?
Correct.
So and even with this being, I saw a letter, was this is this a habitat area out back, or was it a habitat area? So Concom is going to review this as far as this is concerned as well. Is that correct, Mr. Tanzi?
Yes, it's before the Concom. Now, most of those issues were looked into and have been addressed, if not all of them.
Yeah, that's basically my main question, was just looking at the drainage today, so. Other board members, questions, comments?
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair. So I'm quite familiar with the Norton Corp, and the capital materials as a whole. Mr. Jacobs, did you say there was going to be a couple washing bays on
Right.
site?
Yes,
And those are intended to wash both the truck body and the bed. Is that correct?
yep.
And where would those drain into?
They would drain into the oil gas separator out front, oil and water separator, excuse me, out front. We have a detail on that. If you like to see it, but it goes into the oil water separator and then flows into the sewer manhole out near the entrance, and then force main up into the street.
So,
Excellent.
so just, Mr. McDonald, the washing happens inside the building. That's how, and there's floor drains that correct?
Correct. Yep. There's one in every bay, floor drain in every bay. Yep.
And in that floor drain system, because I'm assuming that the water that is captured and contained there goes back into the town supply. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any kind of filtration system on there to capture things like arsenic, heavy metals, PCBs, things that will be in the material that these trucks haul?
That's what an oil and water separator is for. Yeah. All of
So
that.
it's ready to do that kind of thing. Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one other question I had, just, you had a vertical granite detail. Is that the vertical granite just that the radius is coming in off of Elm Street?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other board questions at this point? So everybody's participating in this hearing, so anybody that has a question, I mean, as far as the board goes.
Yeah, not the runoff from the truck beds was really my only concern, but sounds like that's all taken care of. So.
And we did receive an architectural, correct?
Yeah, we have elevations of the building if you want to see that. That's basically what it would look like.
And I did see there was a landscape plan that called out, like red maples and different things across along the front of the street.
Correct. Yeah, we have there it is. And we have a chart as part of that plan to show you what those are down there.
Now, how does this type of drain? So this type of drainage has to be just looking at that. I mean, the snow cannot be, there can't be a berm of snow left obviously along that edge, right? That all has to be removed. Otherwise the drainage won't function.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Chairman. Oh,
So,
down south
yeah,
side.
so how it sheet flows off.
Yeah, as long as the snow is stored on the other side of that diaphragm, it would be fine, because it's just gonna go into the swale. It'll melt, go through the swale, through the check dams and down into the basin.
Okay.
Straight.
All right. Any staff comments or board comments? How about public comments?
We have Janet Hansen in the chat.
Mrs. Hanson?
Hi, Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. I still can't, as always, I no longer have that raise the hand feature. I don't know why. I would assume the planning board would be referring this to Concom before any decisions whatsoever would be made, I would assume. Is that correct?
It is before Concom right now, I think.
Now it is? Okay. It is close to the wetlands and that is of concern. So I wanted to make sure that that was in the works.
Yeah.
That's the only comment I have right now.
Mr. Chair, if I may just elaborate on that. So we've been to 2 meetings with Concom. At the last meeting that we attended, they voted to send it out for peer review. So LEC Environmental is looking at it now. We thought we'd have their comments back in time for tomorrow night's meeting. We are on the agenda for tomorrow night's Concom meeting, but we have not had the peer review letter back. So we're going to ask for continuance with Concom for tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll get the peer review comments back, address those, and get back to the next Concom meeting.
Thank you.
Just, is there any other public comment at this point? So, Mr. Jacobs, would you, and I don't know what the board's thoughts are, but is it your intention to ask us to continue this to May 21st in case you need to make any adjustments to this plan?
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing to do. Then we'd have some answers from Concom. We'll make those changes and get back to you guys on the 21st.
And I've also, sorry, Pat, also talked to the conservation agent too. And then we've been kind of, she says that she could provide the peer review to the planning board staff, as well as I let her be aware of past violations that this probably site had. There was something that came up in the peer review process that if the planning board was aware of any site plan work that was done prior, I indicated to her that we did send a violation letter about a year ago, that the project would require site plan review based on the work being completed. And then I think at some point I indicated to this board or the chair that I had met with Mr. Jacobs of a project similar to this, and we had discussed it. So, I think moving forward with this site plan review would kind of withdraw any violations that we would currently have in terms of the applicant not providing us a site plan review.
All right, so Mr. Jacobs and Mr. O'Brien, you guys feel that we should keep this open just in case there is anything needed from that peer review letter or anything needs to be changed from the final plan set? I would think.
I'm fine with that. I think it would just be
again, the board could close the public hearing if we felt we had enough information, but I think if you're still before Concom and they might need something from us, we probably should keep it open for one more meeting.
I just want to mention the board too. We did receive comments from the water department and fire department that were provided as part of the memo packet.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Mr. Driscoll. Depending on what happens with Concom, this project could change. So I think closing the public hearing now, before we have what could be the final version, would be unwise.
Okay. All right, before I ask for a motion to continue, is there any last minute public comment or staff or public comment? No? Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to continue this to, unless the applicant has anything else? Mr. Jacobs, are you good for now?
I am, thank you.
Seems like everything's been submitted, so I don't think we're looking for anything else, Shannon. It's just really to see if there are any changes based on the Concom review, the peer review, and if they're looking for anything from us, right?
Yeah, no, I just provided a couple comments in my memo packet that I haven't had the opportunity to check out the applicant. It was a busy day in terms of getting new material from people. But as I think the applicant did provide a response letter based on the memo packet that I provided.
All right.
But yeah, those plans include additional landscaping, as well as indicating that part of this approval talks about a widening of a curb cut, which is allowed in industrial districts. So that's something that the board is considering as part of this application.
Great.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Prouty.
I'm not sure what protocol is nowadays, but are there site visits that are necessary?
Yeah.
Building corners, road openings, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and we could, I'm happy to schedule a site visit if we'd like to. We have a couple of weeks to do it, so we could do that. I think we've had some violations with this, so I probably should have offered that. I take it for granted because Shane and I talked about this last year. But is there an appetite to do a site visit?
I mean, it is very straightforward and I can see
No.
that, but it sometimes is necessary to do a site visit, or it used to be. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that it's done all the time nowadays.
Mr. Jacobs, between now and the next meeting, would your client allow us to do a site visit?
So I will ask him. I don't see why not. I mean, he agreed for the Concom to go out there. Concom has done a site visit out there.
All right. So why don't we, Mr. O'Brien, why don't you connect with Mr. Jacobs?
Mm-hmm. So we would,
After this meeting, and we can see if we have permission to do a site visit.
sure.
If we do, we can put a poll out to the board for dates and times. I mean, typically we've done them on Fridays, right?
Yes.
Friday afternoon, if people can make it, and if people are available and want to go, we can set it up. If they're not, we don't have to, but I would attend, I can tell you that, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to the applicant and see if we can plan something prior to, I believe this would be continued to May 21st.
Correct.
Does
Okay. Yeah, we
the,
can.
excuse me, does the chair recommend that the applicant do, corners of the building, road opening, drainage structures, et cetera, noted on, some type of delineation on the site before the site visit, so we can kind of get an orientation of where things are?
We do have the building staked out. It was
Okay.
staked out for the Concom. That's always staked out for them, just so they could kind of get their bearings on where they were on the site. We reflagged the wetlands.
So the wetland flags are still visible and the building corners are still there?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else the board would like to see staked?
I don't think so, given the location and the use. I think that should be sufficient.
Yeah, I will say that the site is wide open. There's, it's not treed or anything like that. There is an entrance right now. For trucks to go in and out. That's the same location of where we're proposing the entrance to be, so I think it would be pretty easy for you guys to get your bearings out there.
Wonderful.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Praddy.
You're very welcome.
All right, so Mr. O'Brien's coordinate a site walk that's good for the majority and coordinate with that with Mr. Jacobs, and we'll go from there. And if you could just make sure that those stakes stay there, Mr. Jacobs, I guess for the site visit. Obviously, we'll let you know when that takes place.
Yeah, I'll make sure I run a crew down and make sure everything's still in place. If not, we'll replace it for the meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, so do we have a motion to continue this if there's no other discussion to May 21st?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
So Mr. Geller,
Yep.
motion, right?
Yep.
Mr. McDonald, second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll take the roll. Then Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Geller.
Yes.
What am I doing?
It would be Mr. Haley,
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. Praddy.
Mr. Bradley, and myself, yes. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind.
Oh,
It's one of those days.
I have a list. I don't know where it went.
oh,
And I try to mix it up the order so people's feelings don't get hurt,
I always wondered that.
You didn't pick that up?
Well, I wasn't sure if you had a little randomizer on the computer or something. Or...
Keep the order. Be easier.
Well, you never know.
Do it.
You might have a different outcome if you start with somebody different, right?
just do it by age.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, so item 4. This is I'll open this public hearing. This is a continuation of 1968 South Street, also known as Zero Mansion Way, map 25, lot 17, 103 and 104. This is a continuation from April 16th, 2025. By application by Mr. McLeod for a definitive subdivision of 2 new house lots along a new roadway with some waiver requests. So At the last meeting, we brought up some concerns with the project. Test pits we asked to be performed. We asked for a review of the drainage. There was street trees, and some waiver requests. So I will turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers from JK Holmgren Engineering. As you mentioned, the meeting of April 16th. So we had some comments from planning board and town planner, specifically street trees and landscape. We did add those to the plans. We also added some building boxes and some zoning tables for each of the proposed lots. We are acceptable to the naming of the road, Mansion Way, if the planning board is acceptable with that name as well. We also received a letter from the town engineer with some comments, specifically mostly about drainage. We redressed all those comments and submitted a comment response letter. We also did some test pits April 30th, a week ago, with the town engineer. We've addressed those comments as well. And we did receive some additional comments from the town planner today. We had an outstanding fee for the town engineer's review that was paid today by way of check, so that's in. And we also were requested to submit a waiver request letter, so we did that as well. So I believe that we've addressed all the comments that have been made from staff and from the planning board so far. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. And maybe a question for Mr. Tanzi as well. So at the last, I'm glad the test pits were done. I don't know if we found old data or what, but I'm glad they were done just to confirm what was on site. So thank you for doing that. So Mr. Tanzi, so this is a little different than our typical 2 to 4 lot subdivision design in that the road is not crowned, it's pitched to one side. The drainage swale doesn't have infiltration in it, and it's basically a conduit to a drainage area that's within the road layout. So are you comfortable with this? I mean, do you support the waiver request? Do you think, is there a reason why there isn't infiltration in the swale as we typically ask for?
So they've got an info or conveyance swale along the side of the road. In that conveyance swale for this type of a subdivision, it does conform to the sketches and the appendix of the regulations. And at the end of the swale, what they have done is they modified the area where the catch basin discharges to the detention basin, where they do have an infiltration trench, a subsurface infiltration trench with perforated pipe and stone, and that would allow if it overflows, it would go through the grate of the catch basin, much like what we see in detention basins with the beehive grates with the concrete pipes and connected with perforated pipe and crushed stone. So in principle, it's the same. It then gets conveyed into.
Well, I just not to interrupt you, but why you're right there where you said like the beehives with the stone and everything. And the reason we used to call it, and Mr. Pratty probably remembers, there used to be a detail 10. It was basically that it was the beehives with the infiltration and the stone under it. And Mr. Antonero always used to explain to us that, if it's just a conveyance trench, you have to make sure it's not blocked, that people don't throw grass in it. It has to be maintained so that flow of water gets to the infiltration area. Do you feel that, I mean, is that true that this would require more maintenance and it needs to be, you have a 2-lot subdivision, we're relying on a homeowners association to maintain it. Do you think, am I correct in that it does need to be maintained and it could be blocked? And that's why we typically have that detail with the subsurface infiltration?
Well, every drainage structure needs to be maintained. The maintenance of this conveyance swale would be minimal if it's mowed, as long as it's fertilized in the spring, and any ruts or erosion, if they do occur, will be taken care of. But the channel it's not a steep slope. You're not going to get the velocities that you typically can get on other subdivisions that have steeper slopes. The steeper the slope, the more justification there is for having crushed stone and pipes in it, because it would reduce erosion. But given the nature of this small subdivision and the shallow slope of the trench, I think the homeowners association would have no problem maintaining this type of a conveyance structure. At the bottom of that conveyance structure, again, they do have the same principle of the crushed stone and the infiltration pipe, and the ability to discharge water from the surface into the catch basin, which will then go out into the detention basin. Now, we did test pits out in the detention basin, and the material out there was not as good as the material that we found around the catch basin and in the conveyance swale. And that detention basin is, you really wouldn't want infiltration. You just want mitigation, and just given the soils that are underneath that detention basin. So I agree with the approach that they took for their design. There are some practicalities of this design that lend itself to the site.
And thank you. And then my only other question was, Mr. O'Brien, I brought this up to you earlier. The street trees are supposed to be, and they can be within the layout, right? So the street trees are supposed to be what, every 40 feet, not just on the frontage of the dwellings?
That's correct, but we have in the past, I know I did provide some draft conditions as part of this plan. But we can make it a condition that the applicant provides street trees in a 40-foot format, unless they, through the waiver letter, they only looked primarily for the street layout. But I think it's appropriate that we could look to include additional street trees prior to endorsement of these site plan and make it a condition of approval.
Okay. I mean, those were my only issues at the last meeting. So the big one was the peer review that I know one was done in the past, but we didn't have the data for it. So I thought before we went any further, we should have that peer review reviewed. So
yeah, and based on Greg's comments before in the past too, and your question previous, Mr. Chair, the applicant did provide an operation and maintenance plan, which we rarely do see, I guess, for a lot of these 4 or less lot subdivisions. So the applicant and that operation and maintenance plan would be provided as part of the record and could be made as part of the decision as well as a condition.
Okay. Other board questions or comments? Any public comment?
Do not see any virtual hands raised.
We've actually approved this once before. It just expired. So
yeah, just told out.
This is just really renewing it. We had a second peer review done on it, and I just, it's up to the board if we want to continue this or close the public hearing. And then if there's no further questions, the discussion, we can move forward.
I'm going to reverse my usual stance here. I'm going to say I think we're good to close the public hearing.
Is that a motion, Mr. McDonald?
Yeah, so moved.
So is that by Mr. Haley?
Yes.
Okay, so motion by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Haley. So I'll take the roll. Mr. Geller?
Yes.
It's gonna be you,
Yes,
Pat.
Yep, I had Mr. Praddy written down. Ms. Pagon?
She left the meeting.
Okay. So I started with Mr. Geller, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Haley?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Were you here? You weren't here last meeting.
Mr. Haley filed a Mullen form that was provided to the town clerk's office.
Okay, so Mr. Geller, yes. Mr. Haley, yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. So we did receive a memo letter from Mr. O'Brien with our standard conditions. But before we get to that, there is a waiver request. I don't know if you can pull that up, Mr. O'Brien,
Sure. Go to.
or the applicant.
I'll pull it up. I'll be
And
kind.
in the waiver request, I mean, we allow, and I guess I really don't understand the waiver request. I mean, the waiver request talks about the right, it's a 40-foot right of way, and on these 2 to 4 lot subdivisions, we always allow drainage to be in the right of way, don't we?
Right, but it's in the form of swales. So in this design, this drainage basin, this catch basin is essentially within the roadway layout.
Okay.
So,
And is it, just to clarify, that, and I don't have the old plans in front of me, that's how it was approved before, is that correct?
well, the original plans that were provided to us previously showed there was no catch basin within the roadway layout. It was just the roadway swales.
But just to go back, Mr. Tanzi, you feel this is a better design after your soil review, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so just, can you bring that up again, Mr. O'Brien?
Sure.
So we do have a waiver request. They do provide the 40-foot road layout.
Looks like there we go.
There we go.
So I guess the waiver is from what section, Mr. O'Brien?
It would be it's our 1 to 4 unit 40-foot roadway layout section. So it would be a waiver of what our typical roadway layout is. So for the most part, as indicated on their detail sheet, they do meet the requirements for most of the roadway layout. It's just a portion of the roadway layout. So we can even
Well, they
word it
meet, I
as-
mean, they meet all the requirements of the roadway layout. They have, so the diameter of the cul-de-sac is correct, is it right?
Correct. It's just it's the way that our roadway layout is set up is that you either have underground drainage basin, either underground drainage in the roadway, or you utilize the swales to steer into the drainage and catch basins, whereas you have a catch basin within the roadway layout in the cul-de-sac in this design.
Okay.
It's just kind of covering our bases.
All right, so we do have a waiver request in regards to this waiver of the 1 to 4 unit 40-foot road layout. It depicts a swale on both sides of the roadway. The design features a swale on one side and and the road is super elevated, not crowned. In addition, catch basin 1 is located within the roadway layout, which differs from the town's typical roadway section. So does anybody want to discuss this, or do we have a motion to approve or deny this waiver?
I mean, if it's Mr. Tanzi's opinion that this is the best layout available, then I would be inclined to agree with him. So.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. McDonald. Do we have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Geller. All right, so I'll take the roll. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Geller?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. All right, so just deliberating on the on the plan itself, again, we approved this before, just in a little bit different fashion. I would like to see them comply with the street tree regulation. I think that needs to be added to the plan and the decision. Is there anything else in addition to the normal conditions that Mr. O'Brien?
I'll
provide-
share them on the screen just so we have, we can look at them.
What year was this approved? This was approved in 2022?
This was approved in 2020. So this was approved in June of 2020.
Mr. O'Brien, were there any special conditions attached when it was approved originally?
There was, I can pull those up, but it was specific more so to if an additional lot was created that the applicant pay $500, and some of it wasn't really applicable to this one. I can provide that as well. I don't know if I provided that initially, but what I did include was making sure that the subdivision roadway was remained in private in perpetuity, and I would say that the most pertinent one from that last approval was there was language of there will be no clearing of trees by the applicant outside the boundary of the sediment and erosion control plan. So the difference with that is it would refer to the sediment and erosion control plan rather than the prior approval.
And Shane, the other thing we have to make sure that's in here, and I don't know, we haven't done one of these in a little while, but we have to make sure that the homeowners association is established and runs with the deed to outline the responsibilities
Sure.
of the, you can work on that later, but we can add that. We do have to make sure that the homeowners association is established prior to prior to any building permits or at some point before anything's sold in there. That outlines the responsibilities and outlining that it will remain a private road in perpetuity and the responsibilities of the HOA.
I would just correct it in terms of prior to being sold as something that's more applicable to that we can control, whether it be a building permit or.
Well, we actually have the language in zoning, so if we can pull it right out of zoning.
No, I think, yeah, in our subdivision rules and regs, I think we amended that from prior to sale to something else.
Prior to a building permit or.
Yeah, in all indications, they would still have to, if it's not specific in this decision, we can specify it, but everything that's within our subdivision rules and regulations, this decision is still, has to meet the requirements for.
Okay. Now, the other thing that we should probably put into this decision is that, they have to, so the HOA, the street tree compliance, and, they need to meet with the water department prior to construction to, one thing I didn't see on this, is there looping or hydrant provided of the water line?
Scott, can you answer that?
There is a hydrant proposed at the entrance to South Street in Mansion Way.
And have you done a water impact form, and have you discussed the water line design with the water department?
No, but I believe the water department did receive copies of the plans.
Yep, and then additionally, a completed water impact form is a condition of the decision.
Yeah, I just think that, water impact form and connecting with the water department to confirm design. And so I just want to make it clear that we're not approving any water system design as part of this. That has to be worked through the water department.
Sure.
And so we can add something about that, an impact form, and working with the water department too, because the water department has been asking for looping lately. So I want to make sure that that's addressed in the decision plan. So HOA, street trees, water department approval. Is there anything else that the board can think of or that we should consider in addition to the normal?
Isn't street trees already covered on number 30?
That's street tree types. So what Pat's
Oh.
saying is that the plans, essentially the plans will be amended. So that's 30 specific to species, but I could amend it to say street trees shall be planted throughout the site and that the species shall conform to rules and regulations.
Yeah, at the proper intervals as indicated.
Sure.
All right. So we can add, we can, so, all right, do we have anything else we would like to add to Mr. O'Brien's decision letter?
Nothing from me.
It's like a blank check, people.
All right. All right, so do we have a motion to either approve or deny the project?
Make a motion to approve with all the added, conditions.
And that would be the HOA, the street trees, and the water department approval and design,
That's correct.
and water impacts form. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. McDonald. I'll take the roll. Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
No, yes.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. We'll get that decision letter out in probably a week or so, Shane, right?
Yep. Let us know about covenant, surety, all that jazz.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You.
Okay. Agenda go. All right, so we have planning board minutes under item 5, other business. Did everybody get a chance to read December 18th and January 15th? I think we continued these from our last meeting. Do we have a motion to continue?
Continue.
Oh,
Motion to approve the minutes.
Goodness.
Mr. Haley, do we have a second?
Second.
Or Mr. Geller? I'll take the roll. Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Haley,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Praddy.
I believe I'm able.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And I'm a yes. Okay, thank you. All right, Shane, do you want to go over, we continued 2 items to May 21st?
You certainly did.
Then we also have, what else? Looks like the Broad Street project potentially and a senior housing development on Pleasant Street.
No, potentially for Broad Street. Broad Street will be on for the 21st. The plans are already on the town website for those who are interested. I think I provided them to the board as well too. So that would be it's going to be public information meeting as per the ordinance, as well as the meeting where the planning board will be providing a recommendation. So
Well, that'll be like a joint meeting. Who represents the CED office? Will that be you, Mr.
It's
Solari?
Bob and I. So it's really,
It'll be a long one.
hey, I'll keep it quick. Yeah, with all continued items from the last, I think that the previous items that we talked about, we've kind of covered, but we've asked for more information. But that project is actually in front of Concom right now as well too. There's a wetland in the northeast part of the property, or I think it's the western, whatever.
North somewhere.
It's north. It's a portion of the property. I'm all true north all the way. But we're following the new form-based code process, which will be taking in recommendations. You guys have all the information, the checklist. Feel free to shoot me an email or comment or ask any questions.
Just to get ahead of it, so because I know that one has a pretty tight clock on it because
Sure.
That's in the redevelopment zone, so we just give a recommendation.
That's correct.
But Mr. Tanzi, have you been able to get test pits coordinated with them, and have you started the review of the drainage?
Not yet.
So I guess if we don't have do you have test pits for that site or not?
I don't believe I do.
So can we make sure the applicant knows they need to do if they want to stay within the time frame of their approval without granting us a continuation, we're going to need to be able to review a drainage report and have Mr. Tanzi give us a favorable.
Sure thing. I think they did provide a drainage report as part of it too, but I'll see where they've done test pit work or if they'd
Well,
like.
I saw in the Concom memo that Mr. Tanzi sent that there were no test pits, so.
All right, so what we can, I'll ask them for some test pits and kind of reiterate some of the conservation.
I mean, if they
comments.
can try to get test pits done before our meeting, so Mr. Tanzi can confirm.
Will
I-
do. And I'll
Can you
keep you
send me
guys
those?
posted on the conservation process as well.
Because I know we get accused of being not business friendly, so I'd like to be as business friendly as possible and try to make sure they know what they need to do before our next meeting.
I would never say such a thing. And it was never an email.
Mr. O'Brien, just you did a great job filling me in earlier about the Broad Street project
Yep.
process. But I just have one follow-up question.
Sure.
If a project was to come into that area,
Mhm.
that would normally require a special permit, would they still have to go through the special permit process? Am I
Yeah,
correct in my understanding that?
if something requires a special permit in that district, it would still have to be applicable to the planning board special permitting process. So yeah.
So it's just as they check all the zoning boxes, they can maybe get a couple waivers if there's some like minor stuff, and then
Correct.
otherwise they're just good to go.
It's more so waivers are applicable from a technical checklist standpoint. It's not really, everything else has to meet the requirements. So this project was going to come before this board at some point with variances in tow. The applicant did go in front of the zoning board and withdraw their application. So with all indications and after, staff review of this project is not going to require any variances from the zoning board of appeals. And all the items are applicable to, just requiring this, technical review form-based code checklist process.
Yeah, I mean,
Excellent.
I think it's important that we just, if it's our first one and I want it to go smooth, so I think we need to everybody on the staff team needs to know that we need the information, that night. Because if we don't have all the information and we don't have test pits done and Mr. Tanzi can't give us an opinion and we only have a 30-day window, I don't see how we can give a favorable recommendation unless they give us an extension, you know what I mean? So anything we can do to get all the information to us as soon as possible.
No, of course, and that's why I provided the information, and I think getting them information or letting them kindly know about the test pits is important. But yeah, if you guys need any questions about access to information, as well as people watching on YouTube after sitting through this meeting for about 2 hours, the plans are available on the town's website, so you can check them out. Check out the checklist and all that other information. As well as the other thing on the board item is we do have a preliminary design for our first senior housing village development. So we're going to provide, I believe, Silva Engineering will come before the board similar in a way to a preliminary subdivision, in which we'll provide some preliminary comments on that design and project that I'll forward to you guys tomorrow. And we can provide comments, and then from there, once we're in a comfortable standpoint, they'll file for a special permit as per the new ordinance.
Okay. All right. Item 3. I think most of you were on earlier when I introduced Mr. Pratty as our newest full member. Mr. O'Brien. I don't know.
Yes, he is a new member.
All right, I didn't know. No, so I said it earlier. I just want to welcome Mr. Pratty. I think he's going to be a huge asset to the board. You can say whatever you want, Tom, but Tom served for a long time, and I actually went before him when he was on the board, and he was very professional and did a great job. So I'm excited to have him join us. So
appreciate those kind words and looking forward to working with you fellas.
What brings you back, Mr. Pratty? You miss it this much?
Just right now, there's a little time in my schedule, so I figured I'm cruising towards ultimate retirement. I'm not quite there yet, but I have more time than I used to. So yeah, I'm looking to get back involved.
Gotta keep busy somehow.
Bless your soul.
And we kind of, I'm glad you brought up the point of the site walk, because typically it's been on more contentious projects or projects with issues and things like that. And I kind of took it for granted tonight because Mr. O'Brien and I have been talking about this site for a while, and there were some violations and whatnot. So I'm pretty familiar with it, but I'm glad you brought it up, and I look forward to scheduling it, and we can get out there and maybe make that a practice for all site plans going forward. So,
Absolutely, I think it's a good idea.
all
Well,
right.
welcome aboard anyways.
Thank you very much.
Shane, did you kind of wrap your planners report into everything you said?
Yes. I guess from a committee liaison standpoint, Pat, CPC has a new plan out. I guess you guys finalized a plan.
We did finalize that plan. Where it is, I don't know. The other thing too is just so people know, I think the council voted last night, Shane. The CPC was working for, and actually Mrs. Hanson's on the, Mrs. Hanson, are you still there, available?
Hi.
So is the Hanson Farm, purchased, deed restriction complete? Was that completed last night with the council? Was that the final step?
I think so. The council approved the conservation thing.
Yeah, so
whatever it's called.
one big thing that the CPC's been working on, it was through a grant and some CPC funds, was ensuring that the Hanson Farm will always be a farm and won't be developed. And I think it was 70, Mrs. Hanson, correct me if I'm wrong, 70 something acres that is being preserved. So
David's here. I'll let him answer that.
I think it was, I know it was on the town agenda last night, so I think we're pretty close. I think it has to be finalized by
71.78 acres.
so.
71.78 acres.
And I think that's a great thing for the town, and to thank the Hansons for working with CPC. So
Yes,
that's great.
I got one more thing in the planners report, and then I'll let everyone run off. So I don't know if I mentioned at the last meeting, but we did get on April 22nd, we got an extension for our open space and recreation plan. It was due to expire in April of this year, but we got a 3-year extension for that plan. So we're still eligible for trail grants, park grants, et cetera, et cetera. And then the day after that, we received a grant that we're still kind of working through the contract on, some money from the technical assistance from the Energy and Environmental Affairs to work on an update on that plan. So in the future, we'll be coming to the Open Space and Recreation Committee with and doing some public hearings on an updated plan that'll be good from 2028 to 2038. So look forward to that.
Great. All right. Any other comments from anybody before we take a motion to adjourn?
I actually, unfortunately, I'll keep us here a couple minutes longer. I actually have two. Mr. O'Brien, are we in person next meeting?
Once again, I kind of leave it up to the board in terms of how we want to do things.
So if we're going to post it, we should talk about it now. If the majority wants to do in person, we could do in person. If not, we could do Zoom.
I'm definitely still on the Zoom train myself, but that's because I'm younger and like computers. So
it's okay to be selfish.
It's going to be a stretch for me not to do the Zoom because I rush here and whatever, my own thing. I'm not sure if I could change my schedule and make sure I get what I get wrapped up before heading into the hall.
We could.
Yeah, I'm also in the same boat there.
We could talk a possible transition to in person. I know Steve's probably looking at us like.
No, I want in person.
I know you do.
I've been pushing for in person.
I'm on the Steve train, but
I'll say this. 30 minutes later, I got it. I can get home and cook dinner in 30 minutes and get to the office. So, I like in person, obviously. I'm of a particular generation that would really like that.
Mr. Pratty, do you have a preference going forward?
I would always side with in person, and if some accommodation has to be made for 7 o'clock start, that's fine with me.
So,
I'm missing MJ right now, I'll tell you that much.
but, well, I think next meeting, a lot of people expect it to be Zoom, and I think we already told people 6:30, is that correct?
Yeah, I think we've kind of kept it at 6:30. That's how that has been kind of our time.
Is that even something we can change if we wanted to?
I would say that we probably should set up a couple discussions about it, rather than just kind of us rolling with it at the end of the meeting. I would say that
I've been saying it for 5 years. I'd rather be in person. I like having big plans in front of me. I like,
Agreed.
but
Agreed.
I would say,
I mean, Broad Street would be nice to have in person because it's a brand new project and there's a ton of information and we have a quick timeline, but.
It's not that I'm not excited to see you all.
I would say let's do Zoom for the next meeting because, we're just already leaning that way in terms of ability for people to be there. But I think let's have a discussion, Pat, and
all right.
If we can set up a time where I can show you what the layout of the room is going to be and what it would be, and I can talk to you and IT.
Yeah, all right.
How we would do it.
I'm not saying hybrid either. I'm just saying we used to record them and just post them after. But one other thing, just because we do have these 2 new hearings starting next meeting, if people want to, I mean, I typically stop in and pick up the large plan set. Did Broad Street provide enough plan sets for all the members to pick up?
I have a fair amount. Mr. Pratty has one of them.
Okay.
I probably have.
I have one also.
All right.
So I would say.
So you guys already went in and get I got, so I'll come in and if there's one for me to grab, I'll grab it, Shane.
We do. Yeah, we have one extra, I believe.
Yeah, I picked it up last week.
All right. Because that's.
Mr. Ryan, sorry, Pat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Ryan, would it be appropriate to put it on the agenda for next meeting for that discussion to get public input
on the Broad Street project?
In person versus.
I don't want to hear.
No, we don't want
I don't want to hear
to.
their opinion on it. Public hearings closed on that. This is
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. No, honestly, it comes down to board availability and the technology of the room, as well as the presentation. I think I've said a million times, the ability for people to call in while being at home, as well as attend in person, and managing that technology while also running the meeting.
Gotcha.
So I can do all this stuff and talk to you guys while doing the computer and pulling things up. But
and the other thing too is when the new town manager starts, it may all change, right?
Sure. Hammer and fist can come down, as well as if we have a smaller meeting, the conference room works for a lot of smaller meetings that the board has. But when it's something where a lot of members of the public are willing to attend, then we look at council chambers and the technology, without assistance from BTV is difficult with a smaller staffed office.
All right, so next meeting we're going to do Zoom, but let's try to get back in person sooner than later.
Sure thing.
I apologize. I still have one more question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So Shane, I'm a little concerned about the fire department not responding to several inquiries on your end about 43R.
I wouldn't just. We don't even get water comments, right? That's why I want to make sure in our decisions we make sure that we say it's. I've had people call me and say, "How can you approve these projects?" And then it's just assume that they get water. I just think that, and Shane, we'll work on that condition, I guess, that they need to do a water impact form. They need to meet with the water department, and the water department needs to approve the design, because I know that we were talking about looping for a while and all that stuff. So we need to be on the same page with the water department.
No, I agree. And I just want to make it abundantly clear that when people come in with projects and applicants come in, whatever standards that we have as a town, and this is really kind of indicative of how we do things compared to other places, is that all our standards and our requirements and our regulations should be available prior to someone applying for it. So when someone applies for a project, the subdivision rules and regulations are available. the site plan review regulations are available. You know, they know what is needed to get an approval. Whereas some departments don't have that available information right-handed. So we're getting it from comment letters and from some standpoints, very general comments saying, oh, well, we don't have water to give. Okay. But from our perspective, there's no development moratorium that exists in town. So, you know, for people to blame the planning board for a water crisis, I think is completely inappropriate.
Right, but and people can build a neighborhood on private wells if they want to, but we just
absolutely, and that's what we did. I apologize. No,
we should just make sure that maybe one of our new standard conditions addresses that, because it does seem to change a lot after we approve it. And I just think that we should be very clear that applicants should be encouraged to go meet with the water department prior to submitting to us, or if they don't, we should condition it that, hey, we looked at it from a subdivision rules and regulations standpoint, and you need to go meet with the water department to make sure you can get your connection and to confirm the design you provided the planning board is adequate. If not, they have to follow the water department regulations.
Yeah, as well as in one of the last subdivision rules changes, we did add exploration of private wells to be considered as part of subdivision approvals.
Okay.
But yeah, fire department provided comments on 1010 Elm Street, Mike. They do attend our pre-construction meetings pretty healthily. But yeah, you can only give what you give.
I'm a little taken aback. I mean, I'm familiar with first responder work, believe me, but and especially if the water department doesn't respond to, like, I don't understand how that's acceptable.
And I check with Shane often, because when we don't get responses, I'm concerned, but we do send it to every department. So
yeah, is there anything, like, I just don't see how it's acceptable for people to not respond to a town body, asking for
well, the way that I view it is that when someone doesn't respond, that means that they're totally okay with the project. So I just consider it a thumbs up from them that they don't respond.
That's understandable, but
concerning.
I don't know. It seems a little, yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any avenue we can pursue to fix. Like, do we maybe appoint a liaison to, like,
the only thing I could think of, and the only thing I could think of is that we would have to establish some sort of preliminary technical review process where we would have to bring in other departments to discuss projects prior to them even submitting to us.
I don't know why we don't do that anymore. I don't know why we don't have a.
Yeah, that seems.
I don't know why we don't bring water planning all in like we used to do, and have one meeting before and have everybody kind of get like the infrastructure issues out of the way before it comes to planning boards.
I'm happy to bring that back at some point. I just need a little more clarity in the train on the tracks prior to doing that.
They probably did that when Mr. Pratty ran the show.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great thing if we could look into doing that in the future.
No, it's a really good thing to do.
Right.
Clears up a lot of things before you even hit your first meeting.
Sure thing.
All right, Mr. McDonald, can we adjourn now?
Yes, sir. I'm glad I'm not crazy, like, thinking that's, like, weird.
No. Does anybody have anything else? Well, welcome aboard, Mr. Pratty, and as we do have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Mr. McDonald, second.
Second.
By Mr. Pratty. So, Mr. Pratty,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Haley.
Yes.
Let me yes. So good night, everybody.
Hey, everyone,
Good
take
night.
care.
Good night, everyone.